Hey everybody, so if you've been shopping around for a river fishing kayak, you've probably stumbled upon the kayak that I'm going over here today. And I'm talking about the Crescent Shoalie. A lot of people have been talking about this kayak. A lot of people have been requesting me do a video on it. Big thank you to Eric with Itchin' to Fish YouTube channel. He's one of my followers. I follow his channel as well. Definitely give him a shout out and check his channel out as well. He does fishing videos. He does on the water with the Crescent Shoalie and also even does some camping and some hunting as well. So definitely big thanks for him. But anyways, we're gonna get right into it and let you know what I think about the Crescent Shoalie. Okay everybody, so what I've got here, this is the Crescent Shoalie, and like usual, I'm gonna go over bow to stern, just some of the features of the kayak. I'll kind of go over in depth to some of those features obviously, and at the end of the video, stay tuned if you would, I'll go over my thoughts on how it's designed, maybe some things to watch out for, and maybe some things on the design of this kayak that may not work like I originally thought there. So starting here at the front, you've got some really nice, it's kind of a different take on the soft comfort grip handles. The thing that I do like about this is it does give you maybe some customizing of the front part here. You are able to loosen up that cam buckle and make a little bit more room, a little bit more stretch to that handle. Another nice thing is they've got the Yak Attack vertical tie-down mounts on the gear track. The one thing I will say about this is you've got a considerable amount of strap here with the tail. So this can be used for a stand-up assist strap. This could be used for a drag strap, but it does give you quite a bit of strap to deal with. What Eric does here on this kayak, he stuffs it into the front hatch here to kind of do away with it. But the one thing I could see being an issue with this strap in particular is catching hooks. So if you're running rods along the front of the bow here, if you've still got this strap on, that may be something. I know with a lot of comfort grip straps I've seen, namely on some of the Jackson kayaks, even some of the native kayaks, you'll see that you can get some hooks set into that material, as well as some of the kayaks that run that front bungee cord on there. Just know that that could be an issue. That may be something as simple as loosening both the vertical straps and then just throwing the whole thing into the hatch here. Moving forward to this hatch, so one thing that does make this kayak unique is it is a roto-molded hatch. That's made for the same material as the rest of the kayak is. That gives you a lot more rigidity because you can see that they've got the rod stagers here. They're a little deeper. And it also gives you something if you want to mount something to this. So the guy that owns a kayak has got a little hole drilled in here. He told me he runs a spotlight on it, which again, that's a really good feature on there. You can also probably run something like that on the gear track if you choose to. And again, you've got gear track on the front, so that gives you the ability to run an Anchor Wizard on the front, the Anchor Wizard tube. That gives you the ability to run a spotlight or a GoPro mount, anything like that. Inside the hatch, so one thing you'll notice is it is a molded in tub. It's not a removable tub. You can, and I've seen some people cut this out to get access inside. You're not doing anything to compromise the integrity of the hull doing that. It does have two rod storage tubes built into this. This will work on your lower profile rings. So think of your bait casters, some of your other setups. The spinning rod setup that I've got here would not fit in it. The rings that come down a little bit longer and are a little bit wider will not fit into the small opening. So keep that in mind depending on what kind of rod setup you've got there. But it will fit a 7-foot plus rod into the hull. And I believe it's not a tube that runs all the way down it. So keep in mind too, this seems really watertight. but if it were to turn over in water for a long period of time, water can have direct access to inside your hull from those openings. Personally, if it was me, I would probably cut this out, or you can cut these out individually. You don't have to do the whole thing. So if you wanted to run maybe a battery up here or a smaller battery for electronics, you could do that and then still have hull access on the other opening here. But that would give you a little bit more space to maybe store a wider variety of fishing rod inside the hull of the kayak. Really nice gasket here on the lid too. So again, I can't really speak to how watertight this is, but you do have the raised ridge on the outside, which is designed to keep that water out. And then also you've got little drainage channels here on the edge to, if you do get water on this, it's designed to put it back into the deck and then drain out underneath you through those scupper holes. Moving forward here, you do have this little bungee that's meant as kind of maybe a selfie stick, if you will, or a phone holder. This is really nice for those of you that are going fishing, or some of us losers that like to post our stuff on YouTube. It allows you to kind of post that picture, post that video, do that live stream while you're fishing. But another thing here too, and one thing I really like about this kayak is stainless steel pad eyes located throughout the kayak. That gives you a really durable mount for a wide variety of things. Think about your stand-up assist strap. You could probably run the excess strap through that and then use that also as your stand-up assist. Stand-up assist is really good, but my experience with stand-up assist straps, you're going to use that a lot more and a lot better utilization to sit back down and maintain your stability. And in a river kayak, if you're planning on stand-up fishing from it, that's going to be a really big thing for you. Pretty decent wide open deck space here. There's not a lot of clutter. There's not a lot of things to snag up. That really helps out with your rod storage. So you've got these two little rod butt notches here. You can set your rod down there and then run them across again this hatch. You've got the padded kind of catchboard, if you will, but you also have the notches built into the kayak for your 26-inch catchboard. It is level, but it is deep down into the kayak, so you don't have to worry so much about that big fish getting away while you're trying to take that picture. You can just measure it if you're just wanting to casually do it just for your own personal benefit, but if you do run that catchboard for your tournament fishing, it will hold that 26-inch catchboard. You have deck padding throughout, which is really important with a fishing kayak. That's meant as really a sound deadener, but it's also a cool place to put your feet if you're barefooting it. Moving back here, you do have two really large molded in cup holders. And those of you that watched some of my videos before, you know I'm not a huge fan of a majority of the cup holders out there because of the lack of depth in them. Most of us run a larger tumbler. It doesn't matter if it's Yeti or Ozark Trail or any of those. A lot of us run those 30-ounce tumblers, and a lot of the molded in cup holders on a lot of your kayaks are going to allow that to be top heavy and just fall over anyway. I really think these are going to accommodate those really nicely. You do have this recessed top area here, and that's for your Anchor Wizard. So your Anchor Wizard canister, which I've got one here, it does go in there, but I'm not a big fan of the fit. I'm sure they sell a plate that goes in there that can drop in there, but it's well thought out. The execution could have been a little bit better, a lot like the RVR even, but just know if I'm running one of these, I'm probably going to run it on gear track or set up something a little bit more closer to the back of the seat there. So moving back to the seat reminds me a lot, those of you that have been around kayak fishing for a long period of time, think of the Jackson Coosa. So the seat itself has these 4 points, and these points sit directly into the hull of the kayak. That is a little bit of a concern with me, because those of you that know the issues with the old Coosa, The points where these sit directly onto the hull of the kayak put a lot of stress on there. Even if you've got some extra plastic, it's reinforced a little bit over time. I would definitely worry about the cracking of this, and that was the same issue they had on these original Koosas from Jackson, is the rear part, not the high position, but the low position sitting directly on the hull. All of that stress goes on that point, and they saw a lot of cracking on that. That's partially a lot of repair work that I've done on those. Just know that that could possibly be an issue. It's probably something that they fixed on there. I don't have inside access to the hull other than the access hatch back there, and I haven't really seen any padding or any foam or anything in there. You do have a lot of ridges in the hull here, so that can give you a little bit more integrity. You're not going to have as much of that flex there. And a little background on this kayak. So Drew Gregory, he's the same person that designed the Jackson Coosa, is the same person that designed this kayak. So you'll see a lot of features on this kayak that are from that design, but maybe some improvements, maybe some, especially with the width of it and the wide open deck space, which on the Coosa, you had the little molded in console area here, which a lot of people kind of felt like was never really utilized. This one here, you got a little bit more of that open floor space, if you will. So you do have a high-low position on this. The high position, you do have the same padding material that you have on the deck. I probably would have liked to have seen that on the low position also, but it is what it is. If you're moving it from the low to the high position, that will kind of keep you quiet on the water. The high position on a river kayak, it's just gonna be personal preference. Me personally, I've taken this out on the water. I preferred it much, much better in the low position. It's still not a true low position. You're still setting up suspended off the deck, but it gives you a lot more control over this kayak. On the side here, again, very much like a lot of your Jackson kayaks, you've got the tackle box storage here on the sides with the bungee going over it. This will fit up to a 3700 series Plano tackle box. You have these on both sides. And then back here, you've got the Yak Attack. They're called the padlock paddle holder, but these are designed really for fishing rod storage in mind. You've got the bungee that wraps over the top of it. This allows you to run that rod kind of very low profile, not straight up and down, and not even at a 45-degree angle, but really kind of protect your rod tips from those long overhanging branches. And let's face it, if you've fished on a river for long enough, you've had those close calls, or unfortunately had those expensive rods kind of be donated to the river. This would help prevent that while also being close enough to where you can access it and get to it fairly quickly. So the Tankwell, while not the biggest Tankwell I've ever seen, it's adequate to fit a 16 by 16 Blackpack Pro in it. It's probably, my personal preference in this would probably be either a 13 by 16 or even a 13 by 13. Being a river kayak, you may not need to carry all that much fishing gear in this. You still have hatch storage in the front if you want to stuff some dry bags in there or some light camp gear. You've got these stainless steel pad eyes throughout. This is going to be if you're running the Anchor Wizard or if you're doing a drag chain, which was, again, this is a very similar design that the original Jackson Coosa had. So running the drag chain through these channels, it allows you to have something weighted behind you that's not going to snag up like a lot of your claw style anchors are, but also allow you to still slow your drift on some of those faster moving rivers. So right here, you've got the access hatch, which comes right off. It gives you, again, access into the hull. This is going to be good if you're running maybe a rudder system on there, maybe any kind of wiring or anything. You do have some steering cables here that you can run that can attach to the foot pegs that come with this. The foot pegs are actually the same foot pegs that go on the Bonafide RS series and some of their other ones. You can convert these into the steering, and then this is basically where you would drill into, and it would come out right up here to go straight to your foot controls. So if you did run any kind of motor setup, you could do that. Eric here has a power pole mount attached to the back of this, so he just uses the pole anchoring system, which you can do that on this as well. Normally stock from the factory, you're going to have the same comfort grip handle on the front, but you're going to have it running across the back of it. So comfort grip handles, I'm not usually a huge fan of those depending on what kayak it's on. And the reason I say that is a lot of your heavier kayaks, that fabric is going to go pretty quick. Even on the old Wilderness Systems tarpons, you had those same handles for a period of time where those are the things that we're replacing more than anything on those kayaks. That fabric, sun, water, all of the above is going to break that down over time. It'll take quite a while, don't get me wrong, and they're very inexpensive to replace. I want to say they run about $12 for a pair of them currently. Obviously that can change over time, but they're not very expensive and they're easy to do. Another thing that I kind of glossed over is you have some little 4-inch gear tracks on the edges, and it also comes with 2 RotoGrip paddle holders. So you can do these in a variety of different configurations. You can keep them running across, and you can also adjust them in and out, forward and backward on that 4 inches of track. So if you wanted to run it here on the gear track on the side, you can, and run your paddle across, or use them as rod securement as well. I don't know, and then again, this is personal opinion here. If you're wanting to run a paddle across that, I feel like it's a little bit low and a little bit too close to the paddler for that. Obviously anybody can do it, but to have a paddle across there, you're really going to have either sitting in an Indian style almost, or having your feet really close to you to do that. If you are standing here, and this is the only place you're standing, yes, you could do that, but I would, if me personally, being a taller paddler, if I'm running roto grips, I'm probably going to run them on this gear track here to be able to set it a little bit further away. It allows me that room to stand. It allows me that room to photograph that fish if need be, but just something to think about on that. Okay, so after going through this kayak from bow to stern, I want to give you some thoughts, just some things that I really liked about it, and some things that maybe I wish they were a little different. So the first thing, the first pro, the high-low seat on a river fishing kayak, that does kind of push it into a little bit more unique in that space of river kayaks, is that high-low seat. So honestly, I prefer it in the low position, but those of you that are in maybe calmer, slower moving rivers, the high seat will give you a little bit of better vantage point. And also, if you're looking for a river kayak to stand up and fish from, that may help quite a bit with this. Not only standing up, but sitting back down. The second pro is going to be, it's quality made. It's made right here in the USA. They make a lot of products here in the USA for this kayak, and they use a lot of Yak Attack accessories, namely the roto grips, the gear track are all Yak Attack gear track, and there's a lot of thought that goes into that. It's designed with the angler in mind. So some cons, and I've got a couple of things that maybe concern me with the kayak, namely is the design of the seat. So I talked a little bit about in the video, the previous issues with the Jackson Coosa, with the points of the seat coming down a little hard on the hull. They're the same on this kayak here as well. So this may not have the issues, but it is something that I would probably keep an eye on in the future with some future use. May not, I hope it's not an issue, but it is something to consider. Another thing is, it's 2023, how are we not putting skid plates on the bottom of a kayak, especially a river kayak? This is going to be something that's going to be dragging over rocks, dragging along the gravel bar. And again, it's thick rotomolded plastic. It's not going to be a huge deal, but it is a deal. That is something that really even Perception Kayak uses on their most basic design. Why at a premium price, you would honestly expect a skid plate. The sacrificial skid plate, I always call it. It gives you something to wear down that's easily replaced, and it keeps you from having to plastic weld or repair your kayak constantly. Next con would be, honestly, my personal opinion from sitting in the seat. The seat does slant downward. That is a little uncomfortable for us bigger guys. It feels to me like you're sliding a little bit down when you're sitting in that position because it's not level. It is kind of tapered down a little bit. Even in the high position, that may not be as big of a deal, but in the low position, I did feel like there was just something different about it. The next con is going to be the rod tubes that are located in the hatch were a little small for your basic light fishing rods, namely your spinning rods. Larger rings, it prevents that from going into there, and I feel like those are the rods that are going to be used more than anything with a river fishing kayak. You can cut that out to have access inside the hull if you're just wanting to store it in there, but I feel like that could be a really simple fix, and it may be something they fix in the future there. Anyways, guys, that's my thought on the Crescent Shoalie. I'm really looking forward to taking this out on the water and seeing how it handles. We're going to be doing the video, of course, in the future. We're going to compare it to the RVR 119, which I feel are probably the two best quality made river fishing kayaks out there. So definitely stay tuned for that. If you haven't subscribed already and you're enjoying the content, please do so. Check out some of our older videos. But without further ado, we'll see you on the next one, guys.